Hello YouTube, this is the RetroNatics. I'm your host Javier.
And I'm your co-host Jose.
And we just came from the Guts and Glory for Stage and Screen with Matthew Mungle tonight, which was hosted at the McNay Art Museum. And it was basically a 1-hour lecture from one of the Hollywood industry's wizards in makeup effects and special effects. Matthew had a chance to basically talk with us about his career over the past hour. He started out with his life in Oklahoma and his developing career. He had always been a fan of such classics as Dracula, and we were able to actually see like his early stuff, his early makeup work. And he basically went over all the films that he's been in or that he's actually worked with. He even had some stories about working with certain directors and actors, and just kind of some information as well just for up and coming individuals that want to get into the industry as well, some advice, and just a lot of the stuff that he basically used when he was making his effects. And he had such classic films such as Bram Stoker's Dracula from Francis Ford Coppola. He even did even bigger films like I think it was The Butler.
The Butler, yes.
The Butler.
That's right.
And what do you remember, Jose, from the lecture?
He did some movies and shows that I wasn't aware of, and things that you don't really associate with makeup. For example, like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, you don't really think of a makeup job for that. I mean, aside from the basics. But it was pretty interesting. I did not know that he had worked on the NCIS series and the CSI series as well. And the examples that he showed, I mean, some of that was pretty cool. The autopsy bodies and bodies maybe that are of murder victims and stuff. He had to create all those and do them up and everything, and just the art that goes into that kind of thing is really impressive.
Yeah, the other one was Salem, which is something that I wasn't really
familiar with
or at all. I had to look it up on IMDb while we were there, but apparently he had done a lot of makeup effects for that, and he basically had a table with a whole bunch of props on it. There were heads. There was one with it looked like a witch's head with basically some appendages coming out. And at first we had thought that it was from the Thing. He went into a greater detail about one of the props. It was basically like a large man, like looking up.
Right.
And he was going into the story of, I guess, a little tube that they had to put that spit out water. And for some reason in the episode, the guy was, I don't know if he was drowning or not, or if...
the way I got, or I don't know, I've never seen Salem before, so I really don't know even what it's all about. I kind of got the impression that a witch had cast like a spell or an incantation upon him, maybe a curse or something, or maybe he was supposed to be possessed, I don't know, but the effect was supposed to be that the guy was supposed to pretty much like regurgitate all this water out of his mouth, and that effect was pretty cool in that he used the makeup and all, and just that it was, I don't know, would you really call it a prosthetic or a dummy that was used, and it just had this tube inside of it, basically some plumbing in its mouth, and that would expel water out of it. And they also had to go through a lot of trouble to ensure that the water didn't damage anything on the set or anything to that effect.
Right, and he comes from the age of practical effects. He brought up the whole deal of even the effect of blood. I think somebody had asked a question because at the end of the presentation he had just asked anyone if they had any questions, and I think somebody had a question about what he used for blood effects. And this was kind of like an industry standard. I remember hearing about Caro syrup, which is basically like a thick agent used for like blood effects and some food coloring as well. And I believe that even that was used in the first Psycho film. They used that, but it was more of a black and white, of course, film. But I don't think they had to use the color effect for that or food coloring. But he was mentioning that some stuff was digital. I think he made like a head bust of like some guy or whatever it was, like with the beard.
The face, yeah.
The face, and like I guess like in the episode of I think it was Salem.
Salem also, yeah.
They basically had to digitally create the or move the mouth or whatever for a piece, and it kind of made me want to actually see the series after that. He'd gone into his work in the X-Files. I know that there's a lot of X-Files fans out there, but I had seen like maybe a few seasons of it, but he was very proud of the fact that he was actually brought in and asked to do this special effects for that series as well. And he brought up a story about, I think it was kind of like a large man in one of the episodes where they found him drowned in the ocean or something like that. One of the people like in the audience
episode,
was like, "Oh, I've seen every single episode, and that one brought me nightmares and stuff." And he went into the whole detail about the effect of using kerosene, or no, not kerosene, but what is it? Latex versus.
Was it latex versus silicone, or
yeah, that's what it was.
But there was also something else. It was
something about wax as well, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Some kind of gel that he used, and yet he also preferred silicone actually over that. He preferred silicone, it seemed like, over anything else, simply because of the transparency effect that it gave, and its, I guess, ease of ability to mold it to whatever he needed it to be.
And in his slideshow as well, he was able to show pictures of him just working with different actors. He had a chance to work with Alan Rickman, and I've never seen the film The Butler, but was it The Butler with Ronald Reagan in it?
Yes. I mean, not actual Ronald Reagan, but I believe Alan Rickman was to play Ronald Reagan. Forrest Whitaker, I think, was in it too. Oprah was in it too. I don't remember. There was another actor in there, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, but he even talked about having to work with certain actors and everything, kind of having to he went into the whole talk about like the director maybe doesn't have the entire plan of what they want to see in makeup special effects. Sometimes he had to talk to the actors to see what they were willing to work with. And Reagan was a big, one of his stories where basically they had to do a certain prosthetic around the neck to kind of get the actual look of him, but the actor, I guess, needed to change, a certain feature or whatever. But he just basically like gave some pointers as well to people that just wanted to get into the makeup industry or in that specific field, that you have to be sure, that's a career that you want to get into. Otherwise, it's almost like feast or famine. You could have days where maybe you don't earn that much money, or, you could have one movie that, actually does make a lot of money for you. And one of his, things that he liked doing was Wicked on the stage and stuff. That was one of his favorite things, even though it didn't pay too well. Yeah.
Well, he said in general, theater makeup work did not pay well at all. I mean, you have to really get advanced and probably, I guess, work out in Hollywood if you want to really make the big bucks. But this is his art. This is his passion. I really respect and admire that in the guy. And it's unfortunate that theater doesn't pay that much, because personally, every now and then I do like to go see a play, because it's a little different. It's different from watching a movie in the theater, getting to see the actors there in the flesh. They're only several feet away in front of you.
And at the end, he was open to just, fans coming up to him, just asking questions and taking pictures and stuff. And we had a chance to just, say hello and take a picture for our channel as well. And I told him that, Bram Stoker's Dracula was one of my favorite films, and it still is. I just love the makeup effects on that, special effects and everything. And he had a fun time working on that too, because he had mentioned earlier in his presentation that he was a big fan of Dracula, the black and white one. He made a little statuette like when he was a little boy, and he had a chance to actually work on the redo back in 1992. And I just remember the makeup effects being pretty awesome for that time, and he had a lot of fun. I believe he mentioned the Universal Studios lot or something like that, or MGM Studios or something like that, where they were able to actually film a lot of this stuff. And I even mentioned recently seeing The Bucket List, and he had mentioned that Jack was fun to work with. He can be difficult, in other people's stories, but he was very fun to work with as well.
So I think that's really about it tonight. We just wanted to get back here and shoot a real quick review. This is like our first event that we've attended as RetroNatics, and it was pretty eye-opening and enlightening and fun. All right, so we'll be doing another one hopefully here pretty soon, which should be the San Antonio Halloween Comic Con here in a couple more days. I think, about another 10 days or a little less than 10 days, somewhere around there.
Okay, well, and thank you very much for watching. Please like or subscribe. Talking with you later. All right, have a good one.
All right, guys. Y'all take care.